I take this opportunity to invite Honorable Ravi Pillai, Minister of Finance, Provincial Government, KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa. A big round of applause to this gentleman. He's come all the way from South Africa. And before that, we do have the honoring moment. And we have the legends on the dais to honor you with a shawl. So here we have Dr. Palaniji Periyasamy and Dr. V.R. Sampath, all set to honor our Honorable Ravi Pillai. Thank you so much. We welcome you, sir.
I can see that the program director, Dr. Sampath, gives her the job and then he wants to direct it as well. But that's the Dr. Sampath I know. May I just start by honoring the Mr. Mara. I just want to say to you a story, Mr. Mara, if you can just rise. Mr. Dennis Mara, is it? If you can just rise. I'll tell him a story. I met him in the lift. Mr. Mara, I met him in the lift. And so we said, hello. And he says, he's Mr. Mara from France. And I said, okay, I'm Ravi Pillai from Africa. And I think the message there is the kind of world we are now living in, which is very much a theme of the speech that I will give you. So let me, with my humble ability, say Vanakkam, Bonjour, Sanbonani Nonke, which is in isiZulu a greeting from Africa. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, comrades and friends. Firstly, let me bring warm and fraternal greetings from our provincial government of KwaZulu-Natal, which is a province in South Africa, and especially from our Premier, Mr. Sihle Zikalala. My paternal ancestors, that's on my father's side, hailed from the districts of Velour and Kanjipuram. I believe that's about 140 kilometers southwest of here and 76 kilometers. On my mother's side, they were from Chengalpattu and Thanjavur, which I believe is just 75 kilometers and 346 kilometers southwest of where we are today. So I am in part a fourth generation South African. The descendants of the indentured laborers in South Africa today are now sixth or seventh generation South Africans. Next year, on the 16th of November 2020, we will mark the 160th anniversary of the arrival of Indian indentured laborers in South Africa. It is a significant milestone. It is 160 years covering resistance, struggle, sacrifice, but most importantly, the triumph of the human spirit over adversity. It covers the story of Valiama, a 16-year-old activist who became a martyr when she died almost immediately after being released from prison, where she was incarcerated for her resistance and participation in the passive resistance campaign of the time, led by Mahatma Gandhi. There are many heroes of the South African struggle and Tamil South Africans who were prominent amongst them, including Gangadhara Mohambari Naika, known as Monty Naika, who was the president of the Natal Indian Congress. So I am a South African with an unwavering and unqualified patriotic loyalty to my country, South Africa. Yet I do have these deep roots in Velour and Kanjipuram and Chengalpattu and Thanjavur, which are part of my DNA. It is an ancestry which I hold with much pride and acclaim, as much as an Australian would claim his or her British heritage, or the Zulu king Zwelithini would trace his lineage from the Sudan in Central Africa. So in many ways, and that's why I asked Mr. Mora to stand up, the history of mankind is the history of migration, a phenomenon of accelerated incidence today, the 21st century, and likely to continue to a point of absolute normality. I see myself in you and everything about Tamil Nadu, and this is no contradiction. It is as natural as gravity. In South Africa, in recent years, I found myself saying to young people, because we have our own issues which we have to deal with, I refuse to be inferior to anyone. Steve Biko taught me that. I claim no superiority. My religion teaches me that. But I will claim my space, and I urge you to claim yours. One of your celebrated philosophers said, what we have learned is like a handful of earth. What we have yet to learn is like the whole world. And let me try. Katradu kaimana alavu, kalada ulagalavu. Actually, எனக்கு அவ்வளோ தமிழ் தெரியாது. That profound quote from the revered Tamil poet Avayar is displayed today in NASA's Cosmic Questions exhibition. You will be aware, of course, that she was a contemporary of Thiruvalluvar and the author of several literary works that survive to this day. My thinking in citing Avayar was in part to connect with my ancestral roots in Tamil Nadu. The dislocation of the British Labour policy of indenture left us with little knowledge of our origins in our ancient history. And as South Africans of Indian origin, what we have learnt of our great Tamil heritage is like a handful of earth. So yes, we will mark that 160 years anniversary as a triumph of the human spirit, of courage in the face of adversity, of uniting with the diverse peoples of our homeland in the struggle for freedom and the building of a new country. But at the same time, as Avayar said, what we have yet to learn is like the whole world, both of ourselves and as one of the world's youngest democracies. Legend has it that Avayar traveled from one part of the Tamil country to another, from village to village, breaking bread with poor farmers and composing songs for their enjoyment. Today, I have distinct pride in extending that grand analogy to break bread with my Tamil brothers and sisters from across the globe, but this time to learn rather than to teach. At every possible level, we are each the products of or the beneficiaries of globalization, and it's not a new phenomenon. The sciences of genetics and archaeology tell us that we share a common ancestor in Africa, the cradle of humankind, before we migrated to all corners of the globe. So archaeology and history, in fact, record Dravidian gold miners as having traveled as far afield as southern Africa and made contact with the Khoisan peoples. Our languages have words like Komati, Karu, Suri, Sanusi, and Puttu, which have resonance in this part of the world. So while multilateral fora like BRICS and IORA may today link us in trade and commerce, the Chola kings of antiquity spread their wings throughout South Asia and the Far East. The ancient civilization of Madurai has documented relations with Greece and Rome. So at every level, we are products of globalization and migration of one sort or the other. So as much as we've reached out with each other so much, sadly, that spirit of reaching out to the other is in retreat all over the globe today. When tensions arise, it becomes our responsibility as government and civil society to take action in defense of personal freedoms, provide the necessary refuge and support, as well as build institutions of state and government to prevent discord, distress, and even violence. So consensus and cooperation is always to be prized above conflict and suspicion if we are to move forward as a human society. Our drive to build and entrench a common humanity has never been smooth and easy. It has always been resisted. Our will and determination is always tested. So it is my humble submission, and I hope I'm not breaking any protocol, that today we are again tested. So we see, and it's a world news, the reaction to the Citizen Amendment Act, and I must express grave concern at the implications for the historical profile of India as the eminent example of multicultural diversity in the biggest democracy of the world. And herein lies the contradiction faced by many of us all over the world. On the one hand, we have that beautiful approach to cultural diversity as articulated by Rabindranath Tagore when he said, "Whatever we understand and enjoy in human products instantly becomes ours, wherever they might have their origin. Let me feel with unalloyed gladness that all the great glories of man are mine." On the other hand, as stated by Nobel Prize winner Amartya Sen, the experience of a poor worker killed in communal violence, and I quote, alerted me to the remarkable fact that economic unfreedom in the form of extreme poverty can make a person a helpless prey in the violation of other kinds of freedom. So that man need not have come to a hostile area in search of income in those troubled times if his family could have managed without it. So I raise the above as a context for one of our current tasks, the contradiction of seeking on the one hand to embrace and unite versus on the other hand to affirm and strengthen and grow those historically neglected to the margins of economic activity. But let me let me acclaim Tamil Nadu. I read with delight and real pride in the Hindu newspaper on Thursday an article titled, "Tamil Nadu takes the top spot in Good Governance Index." And it reads as follows, and I quote, "Tamil Nadu has topped the Good Governance Index amongst 18 big states in the country. The state was ranked among the top 5 in 6 parameters, including public infrastructure, judicial and public security, and public health, amongst others. However, it lagged behind its competitors in the ranking for commerce and industries. So congratulations to our sisters and brothers in the leadership of Tamil Nadu for this outstanding achievement. But again, this conference is telling the world that you are ahead of the game. This conference is dealing precisely with those areas in which we are told that Tamil Nadu is lagging its competitors. This parallels with my own province of KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa. Not only are we geographically on the southeast coast of our respective countries, but we are both the second biggest contributors to the GDPs of our respective countries. And we both need to excel even further in commerce and industry to match our competitors. And I believe we are both very well placed to do precisely that. Before I deal with some specifics, please be reminded that as the continent of Africa, we have just concluded the African Intercontinental Free Trade Agreement. And in July 2019, 54 of the 55 states have signed the agreement, and we are now awaiting ratification. This is a game changer, creating a new market with a total of 1.3 billion people. South Africa, and notwithstanding my friend, the former Prime Minister of Mauritius, South Africa remains the most advanced country in Africa. The 2 major ports, Durban and Richards Bay, are situated in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. Our province of KwaZulu-Natal is thus indeed, as we profile it, the gateway to Africa. Currently, we have more than 150 Indian companies doing business across various sectors of the South African economy, thus creating jobs for tens of thousands of South Africans. They include pharmaceutical giant Cipla and automotive manufacturers Tata and Mahindra. We also have many South African firms with a presence in India, including Sanlam, Life Healthcare, Momentum, Airports Company of South Africa, First Rand Bank, Old Mutual, and Naspers. So India remains a most important destination for South African exports and is currently our 5th largest global market for goods. So some of the main goods traded include textiles, mineral products, footwear, vegetables, plastics, and rubber and wood products. And India is, of course, one of the fastest growing economies in the world, and we see here as one of the most attractive trade partners. Some forecasts, and I'm sure you revel in these forecasts, that by 2030, the Indian economy will eclipse that of the US. As South Africans, we can say to India that we want to be part of their journey, but we too have something to offer. And while we still will be encouraging more companies to invest in India, we want many more of you to invest in South Africa and especially in KwaZulu-Natal. The sectors are tourism and property development, logistics services, medical and pharmaceutical, aerospace and aviation, agriculture and agro-processing, automotive parts and components, film, media and entertainment, ICT, renewable and clean energy, that's solar, fuel cells and biomass, medical tourism, and of course, healthcare. So apart from being an investment destination, KwaZulu-Natal's competitive geographical advantages includes, as I said, being the gateway to Africa. The African continent has, over the past 10 years, been experiencing unprecedented growth. In fact, the African Union's trade and investment arm says that the region had been remarkably resilient to the global economic crisis and is ranked the second fastest growing region of the world after Asia. That prospects from both ends are enormous. I can confidently say to you that South Africa and KwaZulu-Natal are open for business. Come experience the warm people and climate, the diverse cultures, the first world infrastructure, but most importantly, the investor-friendly environment. Come do business with us. Ancient fraternal relations bind us. A globalized world beckons that we come closer together. To adapt Avayar's words to the business of this conference, what we have earned is like a handful of earth. What we have yet to earn for the benefit of all our people is like the whole world. Like the Cholas and the great civilizations of antiquity, let us build something together. Nandri, Giyabonga, I thank you.
Thank you, sir.